Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. So today we are starting with the usual disclaimers that this is a concept first and optimized second style build. Building around a concept rather than the best possible damage. This build looks like it should be a heap of fun to play though, and I hope you enjoy it. We do have one additional disclaimer today though, and that is of course that this is a modded build. So with modded builds at present, they work best when you start a fresh playthrough. Otherwise, there can be issues that pop up in the way that the story and quest triggers compile. Secondly, once you start a campaign with mods added, those saves cannot be reverted to be played without mods. The game will simply crash. So TLDR, fresh playthrough only. Now, I want to keep these modded builds as simple as possible for everyone to access, so I will use the least possible amount of mods and only present the ones applicable. If you haven't installed mods before, I recommend watching Mmogurl's video on how to work out how. I'll link it below. If you would like me to make a guide on how to get started, then I can. Let me know in the comments. So the mods we're using in this video will all be linked in the video description. And they are the BG3 script extender, the improved UI, and the optional improved UI assets. These are utility mods, and we use those to make sure that everything is functioning as intended. Next, the Shadow Sorcerer subclass and its optional Hand of Ill Omen enhancement and icon choice. This is our main subclass for the build. We've got the Warcaster 5e mod, which gives you access to other spells than Shocking Grasp, since, spoiler alert, we are taking Warcaster with this build. And finally, the mod that I will never be playing without again, and that is the 5e Spells mod, adding over 80 new spells to the game from the D&D 5e framework. Trust me, this mod is a game changer for build making. So what character are we creating today? Well, the short is linked above if you want the full backstory, but suffice it to say I think of them as a real ends justify the means type of character, willing to sacrifice themselves and let the world hate them if it means protecting the ones that they love. After losing their childhood friends, they will do whatever they think is right for their companions, even if they hate them for it. But they are not a villainous character. I feel like they were forever changed being born so close to the Shadow-Cursed lands, and they are inherently able to draw upon the energies of the Shadowfell. Surely Shah is aware of their meddling, however she permits it due to the chaos that they sow. They are incredibly dedicated though, and are inclined towards bettering themselves through education and martial training. I have been really looking forward to making a build around the spell Shadowblade in BG3, and here's my chance, so let's get going level by level. So we are playing a human for this build, feeling the most susceptible to the effects of the Shadow-Cursed lands. Feel free to take any race though. I like the thematics of human and the additional proficiency that you get. For our class, we are starting this build off as a fighter. The main reason for this is the heavy armor and weapon proficiencies, along with constitution saving throw proficiency, and a fighting style, which we are taking the dueling fighting style, giving us a bonus +2 damage if we are wielding a single weapon in one hand, which we will be. For our background, I am going with Outlander here, gaining proficiency in athletics and survival, making perfect sense due to the harsh environments that we grew up in. For our starting stats, we are going 8 in strength, 15 + 2 in dex for 17, 14 in constitution, 10 intelligence, 8 wisdom, and 15 + 1 for 16 in charisma. Dex is our main priority here as we are scaling our melee damage with dexterity. Constitution is important for saving throws, and because we will be on the front lines. Finally, we are primarily a sorcerer, so even though we won't need a high charisma, it will still help to hit with any higher spell DCs we need to hit. For proficiencies, we are taking our human proficiency in Arcana, and our other 2 in Insight and Perception, giving us a pretty even spread across the board. Okay, character creation done, smash your way off the ship and on to level 2. So I've been using it a lot through my builds, but I feel like the whole idea of the tadpoles blocking some of your magic or potential is really fitting here. All your companions have noticed the limiting or changing to their powers, and you are no exception. Before you were abducted, you could manipulate the shadows at will. You can feel an inkling of your inherent control over the magics of the Shadowfell being returned to you, however, as we reach level 2 and take our first level in Sorcerer. Maybe by asserting your authority over the tadpole to release Shadowheart began the process of unblocking your powers, and it will only accelerate as you use the tadpole more freely. So, beginning with our subclass, we are taking Shadow Sorcery, giving us a few features on first level. In Darken, a simple cantrip that allows us to extinguish light sources, the Hex and Disguise self spells, Eyes of the Dark, which grants us 36 meters of dark vision for now and will improve with us as we level. Finally, Strength of the Grave, which prevents us from being downed once per long rest. So heading back up to the cantrips, and you can already see all the new spell options you have to play with here. I want to start condensing these builds down because they are starting to get really long, so I'll mention and show my non-essential choices, but probably won't go into them too much. With that in mind, firstly we are taking Booming Blade, which is the staple of this build. This cantrip lets us attack a target in melee range with our weapon and then mark them with booming energy. This energy explodes if the target moves willingly, dealing 1d8 in thunder damage. Not so impressive now, but it is a cantrip, so it will scale with us. For ranged and utility options, we are taking Mind Sliver, Gust, and Minor Illusion. For our level 1 spells, they aren't essential right now, but they will be later in the build. So I am picking up the Shield spell, giving us a +5 boost to AC as a reaction, and the Absorb Elements. This gives us resistance to an element as a reaction, reducing the damage and then storing that energy, adding a d6 of damage of that type to your next melee attack. For level 3, there are no real essential spells here. I'm going to take Sleep, but what we do gain on this level is Meta Magic. Now, I also mentioned this in my Prodigy build, but don't sleep on the Create Sorcery Points skill. It may not be that useful early game due to the lack of spell slots, but later in the game it's really great, so don't forget about it. For our Meta Magic options, we have two we basically have to take. Twin Spell, which we'll have great use for in a couple of levels, and Extended Spell, doubling the duration of conditions, summons, and surfaces, which will be really handy next level. With that in mind, on to level 4. The tadpole continues to relinquish control over your mind and thoughts as you show that you are willing to embrace your potential. Your powers heighten, and with a forceful burst of willpower, you are able to push through the final block, preventing you from summoning your greatest magical accomplishment, your Blade of Pure Shadow. So level 4, and with our ability to summon in Shadows Regained, we get the improved Eyes of the Dark, granting us the ability to cast a special form of the Darkness spell. This darkness can be placed on a target, following them when they move, as a cloud on the ground, or as a wall of darkness. Furthermore, it also grants you the ability to spend sorcery points instead of spell slots to cast this darkness. If you do this, you gain the ability to see within the darkness and not be blinded, gaining advantage on attacks against enemies within the effect. Along with this, we have regained a semblance of our resistance to the magics of the Shadowfell, gaining resistance to shadow curses and +1 AC while in partial or full darkness. For our spell on this level, we are of course taking the build around for this build, Shadowblade. We summon a shadowy short sword into our hands that deals 1d8 psychic damage at 2nd level. And when we attack a target in dim light or darkness, we have advantage on that attack. This is a concentration spell that lasts 10 turns, so we definitely need to shore up our concentration saves. Now, as mentioned in the previous level, we can use Extend Spell on this, making our blade last 20 turns if we need to. 10 should be enough for most fights, but if you do suspect the entire goblin camp is about to attack you, then maybe use Extend on this to save it from being recast. Lastly, on this level, we are taking another meta magic option. The best choice for us here is Quicken Spell. We won't be getting extra attack with this build, so access to a weaponized bonus action will be really beneficial. There are a bunch of spells to choose from here, but I will point out that Booming Blade is a cantrip that uses your melee attack, so it is a bit expensive, but it is possible to attack twice in a turn if you need to. Level 5, and this is a great level for us. We are taking our 4th level in Sorcerer, and that means a feat. Having just picked up our bread and butter skill, Shadowblade, last level, now we have a great way to prevent our concentration being broken. Since we started Fighter, we have proficiency in Constitution saving throws, and now we are picking up Warcaster, giving us advantage for our saving throws as well. Along with that, whenever we are able to perform an opportunity attack, we can instead cast Shocking Grasp on the target. Enter the Warcaster mod. So in D&D 5e, this feat actually lets you choose any spell provided that it has a casting time of 1 action and targets only 1 enemy. So this add-on gives us access to a range of cantrips which we can use instead of Shocking Grasp. And of course, we'll be using Booming Blade, causing the target to instantly take the weapon damage attack and the thunder damage from moving willingly. This is a pretty lethal combo. Also on this level, we get another cantrip and another level 2 spell. I'll be taking Friends here since I think it fits pretty well conceptually. Your cantrips also get a boost on this level, Booming Blade especially dealing an additional d8 not just when the target moves, but also on the initial melee attack. As for our spell, we are taking Vortex Warp. I think you have started to experiment with the shadows here and how they can wrap around your enemies and suck them in, dragging them through the Shadowfell and out again in another location. However, it's not stable and you may harm yourself or an ally if you were to try using it on them. So Vortex Warp, it's a great spell that, provided they fail a Constitution saving throw, allows you to teleport others around the battlefield. This works really well with the twin spell metamagic, letting you move multiple targets on the same turn. Closer together for a big AoE or far away to make them use their turn to dash back into combat. There are a bunch of ways to use this one, so have fun with it. You are quite educated given your background, and with many hours poring over tomes or spellbooks, you studied hard to direct your latent magical talents, and it's been frustrating you greatly that these skills which you've already learned and know how to achieve have been just beyond your reach. However, here at level 6, maybe something happens to reopen the floodgates and unlock that forgotten power as we are taking wizard levels now. So as a wizard 1, we get 3 cantrips and 6 first level spells. As we are almost a full caster, we unlock 3rd level spell slots at this level, giving us a big bump in damage as we will be able to use our 2 level 3 spell slots for upcasting Shadowblade to deal an additional d8 in damage. Since our intelligence is abysmal though, we are only here for utility, so for cantrips I'm picking up Blade Ward, Mage Hand and Prestidigitation. This last one allows us to clean damaging surfaces or even characters if you are sick of seeing dirt, fire or blood everywhere. For spells, again with the utility, we are taking Longstrider, Featherfall, False Life, Magic Missiles, Enhanced Leap, and Find Familiar. 4 of these are ritual casts, so make sure to use them while out exploring and don't forget to upcast False Life. Okay, halftime, and firstly I just wanted to mention difficulty. Many subclass mods are having their abilities condensed in relation to their D&D counterparts. This is done so they are accessible for the level 12 limit in BG3. They can be a little on the powerful side, so I would definitely recommend playing this build on Tactician. Secondly, before you all yell at me in the comments that this didn't have to be a modded build, I am aware of the Shadowblade ring in Act 2. However, it just comes a little late for my liking and I wanted to get this part of the build up and running as soon as possible. Also, I think the amount of mods required to make this build really fun and accessible is fairly small, and it's a great place to start for modded builds. Hopefully you're enjoying it so far, let me know in the comments. For anyone wondering why I left Dexterity at 17 for this build, I think if I was playing this character, I would take the +1 buff from defeating a certain Act 1 boss, and that would even out your dex score to a nice 18, allowing you to bump it to 20 nicely with a feat or gear down the line. Let's talk about gear though, and I think if you try this build out, you will find very quickly that losing Shadowblade feels really bad if you don't have another weapon equipped. My recommendation for this is another short sword to start with and eventually swapped out for Fala Aluve. This is a great finesse weapon accessible early in the Underdark. It does the same damage as a rapier and I think works better as a main hand weapon. The The main thing here is that in order to benefit from the dueling fighting style, you must have it in only one hand. So for our AC and for the damage boost, we need to find ourselves a shield. Glowing Shield is a great early option, or Shield of Scorching Reprisal is also a great option at the start of Act 2. For the rest of your gear, try to get some heavy armor as soon as you can. Even non-magical armor is often worth it for the armor class boost. For other armor, Boots of Striding are great. Diadem of Arcane Synergy and Strange Conduit Ring are also great pickups. Keep in mind for the Arcane Synergy effect that the spellcasting modifier it uses is based on the last class that you leveled as. That's Wizard for us, so it will only add 1 damage. Maybe try to respec and change the last class to Sorcerer if possible once you get this ring so that it adds based on your charisma. Okay, back to the build. Level 7 and we have tapped into the flow of energy that has returned to us, finally able to turn the weave into more than simply illusions and shadows as we take another level in Wizard and regain our Arcane Ward. So level 2 in Wizard and we get our subclass. We are of course taking Abjuration. This subclass gives us the Arcane Ward feature. This works by giving us 4 stacks per long rest. Each time we take damage, we reduce that damage by the number of stacks we have, and the stacks go down by 1. However, we can regain stacks whenever we cast an Abjuration spell of 1st level or higher, and we regain stacks equal to the level of the spell cast. This is really helpful for survivability, however our only leveled Abjuration spells right now are reactions in Shield and Absorb elements, so we better keep our eye out for some good options. For spells on this level, pick whatever you like, there are not many here that we're likely to use. Back to Sorcerer now at level 8 and we are a Sorcerer 5, meaning we get level 3 spells at this level along with a 4th level spell slot. Unfortunately, Shadowblade damage doesn't increase again till 5th level, so use that spell slot for something else that can benefit. As for spells, there are 2 options I really like here. Enemies Abound seems really thematic, causing them to be lost in the darkness, unable to distinguish friend from foe. Alternatively, Counterspell is an Abjuration spell. If we wanted to add that to our repertoire, our reaction is breaking under the load though at the moment, so 3rd suggestion. Pick your favorite. There are some great options here and next level. Just be mindful that Shadowblade is using your concentration, so maybe Fireball or Lightning Bolt if you can justify it conceptually. After some time experimenting though with how the shadows move your enemies around, you have decided to try your hand at moving or even summoning a creature from the Shadowfell into your plane of existence. It takes some time, but after hours of trial and error, something changes. A pool of dark energy opens at your feet, and out of it rises a wolf. No, a hound, jet black as night and menacing. It looks at you and sits, awaiting your command. So we have a big level here, level 9, and we are a Sorcerer 6. Now on level 6, the Shadow Magic Sorcerer gets a heap of fun stuff. This is where the build really opens up. Firstly, we get complete immunity on this level to the effects of the Shadow Curse. Your time growing up close by and also your ventures through this accursed place have left it unable to affect you. In fact, it has even strengthened you further, gaining an additional 1 AC while in dim light or darkness. Next, we get the Hound of Ill Omen, the ability to target an enemy and mark them for death. You can then summon in a hound to pursue the marked target. You can mark an additional target every 2 turns, and each marked target within 3 meters of the hound will have disadvantage on saving throws, but only for spells cast by you. Next, we gain Shadow Walk while in dim light or darkness. This lets us teleport to another patch of dim light or darkness, truly mastering the Shadow Warp. Level 10 and we are a Sorcerer 7 now, unlocking level 5 spell slots and level 4 spells. This is another great power jump for Shadowblade, increasing one last time to 4d8 when you cast it with a 5th level spell slot. For spells, there is only one option for me, Ralathim's Psychic Lance. This spell can be twinned and deals 7d6 to a single target, incapacitating them, meaning they can't take any form of action on their turn. This requires a save and is much more likely to hit now that we can have our Hound of Ill Omen granting disadvantage. Okay, our final level in Sorcerer here at level 11, and we get a really great spell here in Banishment. Now this is a concentration spell, but I love the idea of banishing someone to the Shadowfell and then falling in darkness for 2 whole turns. This is also a 4th level Abjuration spell, which is just what we've been looking for to restack a lot of those arcane ward stacks quickly in combat. We also get a feat here, and we are definitely bumping our stats. If your dex isn't a 20 yet, I would recommend bumping that. You should be in Act 3 now, I hope, and a certain magical mirror should help you out with your charisma. Otherwise, if you already have maxed your dex through items, maybe go charisma or constitution here. Level 12, our final level, and we have 2 options. Either we do take 1 more level in Sorcerer, gaining a level 6 spell slot and a neat shadow magic version of Hunger of Hadar. Or what I would do is go back to Fighter for 1 level, gaining Action Surge, getting that extra action per short rest. Well, another build done, and this one is a great one. I really love how much the expanded spell list adds to the game, and how this character feels slipping from one shadow to the next, the Master of Darkness. Kind of like my Way of the Shadowstalker monk, but a caster version. So I don't really want to go into optimization for this one since it's modded and could already be considered unbalanced by some. I will just mention the other route I considered taking. So the other option is not taking Fighter and instead installing another mod called Cleric Subclasses, linked below. This mod adds all the Cleric domains into the game, and the one I would pick up for this build is the Twilight domain. This would give you access to heavy armor and also the Sanctuary spell, which is a great level 1 Abjuration spell that can restock your ward for a bonus action. This, along with the mod that re-adds the removed option to be a follower of Shah and all the dialogue lines that are involved with that, felt great. But a bit too involved for my first modded build. The channel divinity for Twilight Domain, Twilight Sanctuary, is also considered quite strong and borderline overpowered by many people, so I decided against it, maybe in another build. Finally, for this one, I just want to say thank you to everyone who has been a part of the channel so far. I'm blown away constantly by the amount of people who want to watch my builds. You may have noticed I never do the like, subscribe, ring the bell stuff, and that's because it drives me nuts. However, I started this channel at the end of July with the goal of reaching 1,000 subs by the end of September. I only have 10 days left, so if you are enjoying the content and you're not yet subbed, it would mean the world to me if we could get there. Thanks so much everyone, taking a few days off this weekend, but look forward to the Corrosive Touch build next week. See ya!